Well, what a great diverse group we have here today. Again, I'm Corey Ang. I'm the President and CEO of United Way of North Central Massachusetts, and it's good to be with you. And you'll be hearing from John Napoli from Unitil in a moment, but I want to start off by thanking Unitil for sponsoring this event and for their ongoing support of our work to ensure that no one in our region goes cold in the winter. I'd also like to thank all of you for being here and your commitment to helping our most vulnerable friends and neighbors. Many years ago, I worked for an organization that provided heating assistance to low-income residents. One day, I got a call from a health inspector. They'd come across a family living in a small apartment, and they didn't have any heat. They'd been keeping warm through the use of a small space heater, which provided just enough heat to make it tolerable. They had a young child who was sleeping in a snowsuit. And they were living in obviously a very, very difficult spot, having to choose between food, clothing, and heat. They were living on the edge. They were living day to day. They were just trying to make it closer and closer to the spring, where there was warmer weather. Fortunately, we were able to provide this family with the help they needed. I wish I knew where they are now. I hope and pray that they're doing well. But what we do know is that there are far too many families in this position, having to face difficult decisions, not having access to the most basic resources, and having to make the unfathomable choice between being cold or being hungry. And that's absolutely unacceptable. So we're here today because we're not okay with this. We're not okay with people living in the cold. We're not okay with people having to make these unfathomable decisions. We're not okay with children sleeping in snowsuits. We're not okay with human suffering in our community or anywhere. So we're here today because our work together is important, and we want to ensure a user-friendly system of access for those in need so that we can maximize our reach and our impact, that we can provide you with the resources and information you need to ensure that no individual, no family, no child goes cold in the winter. This time, I want to welcome John Napoli from Unitil to the podium. Unitil has really taken a lead position in this work, while John has and continues to serve as a steadfast advocate for those in our society who are most in need. John is a roll-your-sleeves-up guy, someone who always has his hand raised when help is needed, who jumps right into the work no matter how messy or challenging it is, a true partner and a true friend.
I want to welcome everybody. Unitil is very proud to be here again, sponsoring this for our 19th year. You got a lot of speakers, 3 speakers coming up, and John is going to be next in a second. As they go through all their PowerPoints and information, if you have a lot of questions, the Q&A is at the end. We want you to learn. We believe everybody's probably going to take away something today that you probably didn't know about, and that's a positive thing for us, a positive thing for United Way, and a positive thing for the constituents that you serve out there day in and day out. So we want to thank you for being here. And again, I want to thank Joan from the mayor's office and Josh from Representative Benson's and Nolan, who I haven't met yet, from Representative Zlochnik's office. Thank you for coming. I know you're in session and you're probably heading off to Boston later today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce John Kenny from the New England Farm Workers Council. I had to write it down in big letters because I didn't want to mess it up with the small print. So John, you're up.
Good morning, everyone. It's appropriate, I suppose, with the subject matter at hand that it's freezing out right now. I was asked to give a story of one of our applicants, and I think when I read this, you'll agree that it encapsulates everything that faces a lot of our customers and clients. Dear fuel assistance people, please help me out the best you are able to. I am 64 years old, out of work on disability, which pays me very little. I have no retirement money. I'm all alone, paying for rent, electric, TV, phone, a car loan. I just had to get a loan for dentures because I have no teeth, trying to pay off the dental bill for a false tooth that I haven't used for over a year. Medical insurance, car insurance, gas, food, and everybody else that wants money from me that I don't have. I'm totally at my wit's end. I haven't been out with my friends for 2 years. They are all so successful and are always on the go. I have COPD, which is a breathing problem, and can't even afford my medications because it is too expensive. Please help me. Thanks so much. That is a very, very sad story. But there's so many people out there that are in that same situation. And that's what we're all here to do, is to help people like that we deal with on a daily basis. So, my name's John Keeney. I work for the New England Farm Workers Council, and I manage the fuel assistance program in north central Massachusetts, 27 cities and towns. The good news, and I always have bad news, but the good news is that the state legislators stepped up this past spring and appropriated $30 million to supplement the federal money for this program. So 19 million of it was used for last program year, and 11 million of it will be used for this program year. Why is that important? Well, the federal government just released the state awards Friday, late Friday, and as many of you may know, last year was the only time there was ever a federal budget in place before October 1st. As usual, this year is a continual resolution again, so we're only getting 90% of what potentially might be our award. So if you factor out what we got, which was 114 million, up to 100%, and if we get that in the future, we're still losing 9.5 million from last year. Over the last 2 years, we will have lost $20.7 million. By far, Massachusetts is a huge monetary loss leader across the nation. And as far as percentage losses go, it's us in Connecticut over the last 2 years, basically equivalent, 14-point-something% decrease. Rhode Island's right there. Those are the 3 states that are in double-figure percentage losses, along with New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So this decrease in funding is really impacting the cold weather areas in the Northeast. So if you run into any of your legislatures, please thank them for what they did by stepping up to meet the shortfall of the federal money. It's been incredibly helpful. So we're keeping the benefit levels where they are because of that. The other thing I like to say, a lot of people, because the program is called Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, that is just for really destitute, really poor people. If you look up on the screen, you can see to become eligible for this program, for a family of 4, gross income up to $71,846. That figure in this area, how many families do you know that even approach that income? So make sure, a lot of people assume. People shouldn't assume. This is what it is. So get people to call us. Besides our Fitchburg office, we'll be taking applications in Gardner, Winchendon, Athol, Ayer, Shirley, Clinton. So we'll be Hardwick and Berry. So we'll be out. It's a huge territory, but we will be out there to take applications. just want to make sure, I usually ask this first. Can everyone hear me? Yes, okay. The other basics of the program, we were able to start authorizing money November 1st. The program runs through April 30th. People aren't penalized for paying their bills. So if someone walked into our door on April 30th and had a huge gas arrearage, or even if they paid the gas bill throughout the winter, we're going to cover the arrearage up to the benefit level, and they will get a credit on their payments going back to November 1st. So it doesn't have to be utility. If they're an oil, kerosene, propane customer, if they paid their bills all winter, they can submit them, and they'll get reimbursed. The other important factor, which I think Sue will be talking about, is the discount. So anyone that's got serviced by an investor-owned utility like National Grid Electric, National Grid Gas, Unitil, they get a discount on the bill. And that's not from November through April. That's 12 months of the year. So the reduced bill can have a huge impact on not having to pay money out, right? So for Unitil, for instance, 25% discount on both electric and natural gas. So if their bill would normally be $400, just the discount alone is dropping it to $300. So it's a very, very important factor to consider. It's not just a cash benefit that people are going to be getting. Also, we refer names to MOC, Massachusetts Opportunity Council. Karen's here, I believe. For weatherization, that's for renters and owners. And as far as homeowners, if their burner needs replacement or repair, that is also covered. And that you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars that someone could save through having their furnace replaced or fixed. Those are the basics. Does anyone have any? Well, the other thing is it's gross income household size. So it's not net, it's before taxes. So that's the basic eligibility for the program.
My name's Derek Kimball. I've been with Unitil for 11 years. My title is Manager of Residential Services. And I think this might be my 10th event here, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you folks. Your clients are our customers, so we have a joint relationship together, and we like to try to work with you guys as much as we can. So my group is the Customer Energy Solutions Group. It covers, I'm going to try to go through these slides relatively quickly, but if you have any questions at the end, I'll be here as well as John to answer the questions. What we do, we cover business development. We cover products and services. We have programs in place for that. And what I'm going to be focusing on today is energy efficiency programs. In particular, the state of Massachusetts has the Mass Save brand, as you may be aware of. Unitil is Mass Save. You see the Mass Save commercials. National Grid is Mass Save. Unitil is Mass Save. All the utilities are sponsors of the Mass Save program. We are in the fourth three-year plan in Massachusetts, and I'm proud to say that the Mass Save program has been ranked #1 in the nation by ACEEE for 6 years in a row. These programs are beneficial to all customers, and I'll go through a few of the residential programs and some of the programs that touch on the clients that you work with. Just to put things into perspective, in 2019, on our electric and gas programs, $5.4 million budgets on the electric side, $2.3 on the natural gas side. $4.8 million of those budget dollars are directed specifically at what we call our income eligible customers. And that gets into what John was talking about with the income thresholds. We target programs for the income eligible folks, and it's essentially It's in the form of incentives, technical assistance, things like that. It's all being reinvested into our communities. To give you a sense of just energy usage in general, we're seeing an evolution here of how energy is being used. Typically, back in the day, if you look at this graph, space heating and lighting would have been your biggest users. Space heating still is, but if you see at the bottom there, we're seeing the peripherals are appliances and electronics. As you guys know, I have 3 kids. Everybody's into using their mobile devices, handheld devices, laptops, things like that. So we're seeing a shift in how energy is being used with our customers. Just one instance, I like to show this slide because it shows where technology has come over the long run. You look at lighting alone. Over 3 years, if I had an incandescent bulb that was on for 12 hours a day for 3 years, that would cost me $52 to run that incandescent bulb. Today, that same bulb as an LED with putting out the same amount of light only cost me $10.48, essentially. It's an 80% difference. Just shows you where technology is going. This is just another end-use slide here. It gives you a sense of sort of the demographics of who's using what. As you can see with the darker graphs to the left-hand side, most older folks, I'm getting up there in age, they're using electricity for televisions and television peripherals. If you look over to the right, you see that smartphones, tablets, and laptops are kind of taking over for the younger generation. And the older generation we're laggards when it comes to technology. It seems like it takes us a little bit more time to adjust. The home energy assessment programs that we run. This is your typical energy audit. It's a good way to learn about your energy usage in your home. You can call our number. You can do an online screening too. We have an online tool through masssave.com to just get a sense of your clients. They might just need a sense of where their energy is, how their energy is being used, and then through the process, at the end, it'll prompt you to if you want to schedule a home energy audit, you can do that. And we can send out a technical expert, an auditor, to come to your homes and do a basement to attic walkthrough of the home. And at the end of the audit, they give a nice report. It gives you a sense of where your energy usage is, kind of your most cost-effective solutions at the end, and how you can implement those solutions. We have incentives in place, 75%. 75% incentive for insulation and air sealing. So essentially, if you might be on the hook for 25% of the cost. So it's a pretty good incentive. And then we have enhanced incentives for customers who might fall out of that 60% threshold that John had talked about. They might be at 61% of state median or 79% state median. We offer enhanced incentives for those customers. That would push that 75% up to 90%. Again, it's primarily targeting weatherization and air sealing, that type of thing. But we also offer, and I'll go through these slides pretty quickly, we have nine technologies that we offer incentives for on the heating and cooling side. Obviously, furnaces and boilers, some of the peripherals that go with those, like a boiler reset control, those types of things that we offer incentives up to $3,200 in some cases. Same thing, this is just another slide that shows that, the technologies that we cover the rebates for. These are for customers who are in the market for a heating system. We try to drive them to the high-efficiency models. Those are the models that they're going to realize their most energy savings, and it takes a good chunk of the installed price off of a new system. We have other offerings too, real quick: appliances and products, clothes washer incentives, room air cleaners, refrigerators, clothes dryers, up to $400. Water heaters too, we cover that technology, up to $800, depending on the type of water heater. So we cover electric, oil, and gas water heaters. New construction, we work with builders. We're trying to, obviously, when you're building a brand new home, customers have that's probably the best time to implement the most energy efficiency technologies in their home. So we'll offer incentives to builders to work with our technical assistants who review the home floor plans, and we'll work with the builder throughout the process to hopefully build the most energy efficient home that they can. Energy Star is typical. Again, we're getting into income eligible programs, and it's based on the same numbers that John had indicated. We work very closely with Massachusetts Opportunity Council as well as John's group for the income verification. We will move our customers who qualify for that over to Massachusetts. They'll do the same thing. They'll schedule the energy audits, talk to the customers, and then work with them with regard to the incentive structure. In most cases, if things qualify, everything is 100% covered. So if it's a new heating system, we catch it before it dies. We can get out there and work with that customer to get that heating system replaced. Again, this is just the same matrix to show what John had shown, the 60% of state median. And then I have that sort of that outlier, 60 to 80% higher median income. These folks in the other two columns, they're eligible for the enhanced incentive structure, the 90% that I was talking about. So we have the 800 number. We like to work with the customer over the phone while we have them. The worst thing to do is, have a customer get frustrated, get dropped in the process. You guys probably see it all the time. They just want to be helped throughout the process, and we try to do a good job of that, whether it be through our own customer service reps or through the 800 line, the Mass Save line. So we just remind people to have some basic items, and John can speak to these too, and Karen as well, just some items that we need to help with the income verification process. And then proof of income, John sees this as well. I think I'm probably reiterating some of the things that your team would go through with the customer. 2 current pay stubs if you paid bi-weekly, if you paid weekly, 4 current pay stubs, that type of thing. If you're self-employed, your most recently filed tax return. It's pretty simple. Here's a couple of projects of note in 2019, working with Massachusetts Opportunity Council. Fitchburg Green, 350 Water Street. It's a 143-unit building. We replaced the indoor-outdoor lighting, common area lighting. It was a $116,000 investment with using the program funds. Hopefully, they can recognize an annual savings of about 137,000 kilowatt hours in that facility, and that's good for the customers. Heritage Apartments, another multi-unit, $73,000 investment on a high-efficiency heating system upgrade. Hopefully, they can realize about 1,730 therms per year of savings there. Tri-Town Landing, Lunenburg, refrigerators, shower heads, LED fixtures, indoor-outdoor common area, $250,000 investment, about 151,000 kilowatt hours, and some ancillary therm savings too. So we're trying to, you guys know this because you work in the in this field. We're trying to leverage all our resources. There are programs, the federal programs too. They have weatherization programs, the WAP program, LIHEAP, they have funding too. So we're just trying to commingle all the funds that we can when we're working with these clients, because it's important. You can't get all of their resources from one source. We have to be collaborative, and it's important for us to work with you guys as well to identify these projects too, because they just don't come knocking at the door with us. We work closely with Massachusetts Opportunity Council. You folks, if you have projects within the territory that you think that might be worthy, we work closely with the housing authorities in our territory, and we've done a number of projects in the housing authorities. And then the onesie-twosies as well with customers, just the onesie-twosies, the ones that qualify for programs, we like to help them out as well. So just some energy savings tips. I won't bore you with them all. You guys, you're going to get the PowerPoint. And I think I'm just going to leave the website up here for you guys, the phone number.
My name is Sue Corson, and I'm one of the credit supervisors at Unitil Energy Systems. So I was asked to also tell the story, maybe from a customer perspective. I think that's what Bill White had asked us for. But I took a twist on that, and I'm going to tell you my story. From the credit perspective, from a customer service perspective, what happens when you call in about your bill? What happens to you as a Unitil customer? What are the things that I look for? Well, if I'm lucky enough to get your call, and I truly consider myself lucky because I really enjoy my job and I really enjoy interacting with our customers. My goal is to, one, prevent you from being shut off if you haven't been shut off, or two, reconnect your service if you have been shut off. My other goal is to make your bill manageable and get you to pay it, because remember, I work in the credit department. So when you get me on the phone or you get one of our trained customer service representatives on the phone, the first thing that I'm going to look at, or they're going to look at, is I'm going to look at what rate are you being billed at. And I'm going to see if your rate is a discounted rate. If you are an income eligible customer, and I'll explain a little bit more about that, but let's say a customer that participates in fuel assistance or one of the statewide means tested programs, you are entitled to receive the discounted rate for your Unitil bill. And that rate is 25% off of the regular billed rate. So that's a huge incentive for people to apply for this rate. 25%, like John said, really 25% discount really stretches your payment dollars a lot further. So the first thing I look at is, are you a customer that's on the discounted rate? Well, surprise, a lot of times the customers that I speak with are not on the discounted rate. So then I'm going to talk to you about how can you get the discounted rate? Well, there's a couple of ways. I'm going to review some of the state means tested programs with you, and I'm going to ask you if you participate in any of them. And if you do, and when I say means tested programs, I'll address LIHEAP later, but I'm going to talk about food stamps. Does your family receive food stamps? Do you get Mass Health? Do you get supplemental Social Security? Not Social Security, supplemental Social Security. We have a lot of misunderstandings about that. People think I'm a Social Security recipient, I'm entitled to the discounted rate. No, not unless you also participate in one of the other programs. Does anybody in your family participate in Head Start, emergency aid to families and disabled children, any of the state programs where they're means tested and customers receive a benefit from them? If you participate in those programs, you're entitled to receive the discounted rate. So if you tell me you do, I'm going to say, gee, we have a self-declared program. I'm going to immediately put your account on the discounted rate. And that provides you with the discount for a period of 60 days. That 60-day period permits you time to file the paperwork with our company to prove that you actually participate in one of those programs. And when you tell us that you're a participant, we'll send you a letter, we'll send you an application, and you simply need to fill out the application and return it with your qualifying documentation. or you can fax it to us. So it's really, really easy. We're trying to make it as easy as possible and get people on that discounted rate as quickly as possible. The other thing that I'm going to take a look at is, did you get fuel assistance last year? Or have you applied this year? Because if you haven't, it's a big miss. And I am probably John's biggest, outside of New England Farm Workers Council, advocate for the fuel assistance program. It provides a wonderful benefit for Unitil customers, and not just Unitil customers that heat with us. I'm going to ask that everyone that lights with Unitil and applies for fuel assistance also bring their bill when they apply for fuel assistance, because New England Farm Workers Council will let us know that, and we will apply the discounted rate to your non-heat service. So if you just have an electric account with Unitil, but you are an oil customer and you're getting fuel assistance for oil, we want you to get the discounted rate for your electric service. And New England Farm Workers Council and Unitil have a great data exchange. John sends us weekly notice of fuel eligible customers. We received our first list already for this year. Thank you, John. And we will immediately put those accounts on the discounted rate for the coming year. Now, let's say New England Farm Workers Council, they're really busy, and it is February, and you have applied for fuel assistance, and you've gotten in all your paperwork, but you know it might take some time for your paperwork to be approved. Well, no need to worry, because when your account is approved for fuel assistance, we will backdate your discounted rate to November, to the November billing period, to stretch those fuel assistance dollars as far as we can. So however we get your name from fuel assistance, we are going to backdate. This is the only program where we will backdate your discounted rate effective with the November bill. So that is the first thing that I look at when someone calls me, because it may not help you pay your bill, but it will help you pay your bill in the future. You're going to get the best value for your dollar if you're billed at the discounted rate. So it may not help you with your current charges if you have an outstanding balance with us, but I'm still going to have that discount rate discussion with you, and that's where I start with everybody. So how are some of the other ways we get notification that people participate in the discounted rate? We do exchange a file with the Department of Transitional Assistance. So any of your clients that receive a benefit from the Department of Transitional Assistance, we will get a hit on that client, and we will immediately enter them into our database as a discounted rate customer. Again, like I said, for fuel assistance customers, we will get a file from New England Farmers Council, and we'll put those customers on the discounted rate. If you're simply perusing the website and you see that a discount rate is available, we will get a paper application and paper proof of eligibility from customers, and we'll put those customers on the discounted rate as soon as we get that paperwork together. And again, like I said, the on-demand application. So if you're on the phone with someone and you have one of those means-tested programs, you participate in a means-tested program, simply let the customer service representative know. We'll get you on that discounted rate immediately. So the next thing if your account is up to date, probably the next thing that I'm going to look at is, are you on a budget? Because that can help you levelize your energy costs through the year. And the budget program accounts for those shoulder months when your usage is higher and lower, and it levelizes that usage out throughout the year. And it simply lets people account for the energy, account for the heat and the lights as part of their monthly expenses. I'm a budget customer. My daughter opened her first utility account this year. She is now a budget customer because I basically strong-armed her into it, and I think it's a great program. I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't utilize it myself. And if you're past due on your account, the next thing that I'm going to look at is remember, my goal is to get your account up to date and keep it there. So how can I get your account how can I get your account up to date? Well, I can look at a payment plan option for you. And we offer a variety of payment plans, and our customer service representatives will work one-on-one with the customer to hopefully address their unique situation. And I try to do the same myself. And we can provide you with an installment payment option where we take your past due balance and divide it by a number of months, up to 12 months, and that gets tacked on to your current bill, and you'll see it on your bill every month, and that's the amount that you pay. And if you're a discounted rate customer or fuel eligible customer and you've been shut off, we will restore your service. If you get a fuel commitment for 25% of your balance, or if you pay 25% of your balance and start a payment plan with us. And we certainly have many, many payment programs available for our customers. And we hope that simply by calling the toll-free, the 888-301-7700 number, that any of our customers feel comfortable calling, asking what their options are, asking them to have something customized to suit their needs. And one of our best programs that we have to offer, and probably the most customer-friendly program for discounted rate income-eligible customers, is the Arrearage Management Program. And probably most people have heard about this program by now, but it's a repayment option where Unitil will forgive an entire past due balance on an account once a customer enters into basically a budget payment arrangement with us. So I will look at their account, and if they're past due and they meet the initial guidelines, you're an income eligible customer, and you can't be an on-demand income eligible customer. I actually have to have your paperwork in order to participate in this program. So I will look to see, gee, is this the best payment option for you? Because it's usually the lowest payment option that a customer has, and it provides literally the most bang for the buck, and I'll explain that. And I will first screen the account to see that the customer is $300 past due, so $300 in arrears, 60 days or more past due, that the person that I'm talking to is the customer of record. Obviously, they're a residential customer, and I will determine whether or not they've been on the program before. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so we want to make sure that people, use this once, get back on their feet, and then, continue on with payment of their regular utility service. So Unitil is also unique because we can use this program even if you've been disconnected for non-payment. We will reconnect your service for that first arrearage management payment. So this is a good option if someone presents at your office and they've been shut off for non-payment and they have never been part of the arrearage management program. So everything sounds good, right? Well, how do we calculate your payment? And we're going to look at, similar to the budget, we're going to look at your annual use and with a few projections, and we're going to divide by 12. And that's going to give us your bill. Now, if you're a fuel assistance customer and you get a monetary benefit from New England Farm Workers Council, we're going to reduce your monthly payment by an average of your fuel assistance benefit. And we are going to ask you to pay that each and every month. Every time you make that budgeted payment, we're going to give you a credit of up to $100 that's applied against the arrearage on your account. So $100 each month per service. So if you're a gas and electric customer for Unitil, your credit can be up to $200 per month. And that is a significant benefit to folks in arrears. And I do have many successful stories, customer stories of people that have been able to successfully complete the program. And by completing the program, that means paying their bill down to just their monthly amount that's due, and being able to maintain their bill going forward. So that would be a success on the program from my perspective. And we certainly encourage as many people as possible to participate in this program. At any time, we have hundreds of customers. Any time of the year, we have hundreds of customers that participate in the program. But it's been a godsend to many of the customers in the state. And I think I've pretty much addressed how our program works, unless anybody has any specific questions, and how our payments and credits are calculated. But if the customer's interested, they simply need to call in, and their call will be transferred to an arrearage management program coordinator. She'll take their call, she'll calculate their budget payment, she'll tell them what their credit is, and she'll get them enrolled so that their account can be paid up to date. And if their service has been disconnected for non-payment, she'll take that first payment and their service can be restored. So that's another great benefit for those customers. And the last thing that I have to share is about the Good Neighbor Energy Fund. So let's say your customer isn't income eligible, they don't qualify for fuel assistance, they don't participate in SNAP or Mass Health, simply because they're not income eligible, but they still are having difficulty meeting a month's energy expense. So I will talk to them about income eligibility for the Good Neighbor Energy Fund. And this fund provides a grant of up to $300. So it's a grant, never needs to be repaid, for customers that are approved for the Good Neighbor Energy Fund. We have two representatives, lovely representatives from the Salvation Army here today, and they administer the fund for the utilities. So simply by contacting the Salvation Army, they will make arrangements to take an application and get that application approved and get the client that $300 payment. Now, the payment does go directly to the utility vendor, so it either will go to Unitil or the customer's oil company. In fact, in our service area, most of the Good Neighbor Energy payments that we record go to oil customers, believe it or not. So it is still an important program to let people manage those energy expenses, because if they get a $300 grant for their oil, they can also, it gives them $300 in theory extra to pay towards their Unitil account. So we're still going to recommend that you go pursue some financial assistance from the Good Neighbor Energy Fund. And this year I'm chair of the fund for the state, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask for some contributions. So if you see the little green envelope in your bill, whether it's the grid bill or the Unitil bill, please make a donation. If customers are hesitant to pursue the Good Neighbor Energy Fund, you can certainly tell them that a customer story. We do frequently have customers that have received assistance from the Good Neighbor Energy Fund make an in-kind donation to the fund when they're back on their feet financially. So it's a great program, and it's helped many, many customers in need.
So the first topic I'll be covering is the Emergency Shelter Fund. For those of you who are familiar with the program, I ask your patience while I provide a brief background to others who may not be familiar with it. For those who are aware of the program, I'd also ask that you pay attention just in case you've gotten old on the actual parameters and use of that program. This donor-designated fund was established in 2006 when a generous community member, Ron Anson, read about the deaths of several homeless individuals who had succumbed to the elements when they were without shelter on an extremely cold night. He approached the United Way and the Community Foundation, committed to do what he could do to prevent this kind of tragedy again. With that in mind, he created the Ronald M. Anson Foundation Emergency Shelter Fund. The express purpose of the fund is to prevent death of homeless individuals and families who, when temperatures and/or weather conditions are extreme. The fund was established intended to address or fund programs that address the issue of homelessness in the community. It is, by definition, a public safety program. Under the directions of the donor, the policies of the fund use and programs administration were established and the fund was open. At that time, a committee was created to oversee the decision process for when the fund would be in effect, and that continues today. I will address the policies and procedures a little bit more in the coming slides, and as John had stated, I ask that you hold questions until the end of the presentation. Given the extremely critical homelessness crisis in our area, in the past few years, there's been a tendency for agencies to want to make use of this resource as an additional option for shelter. To preempt previous misunderstandings, I'd like to cover a few points that relate to the sole use and purpose of the program. These points are necessary to highlight based on previous incidents, and the first is that for any agency or entity, whether that be an agency providing services, town offices, or public safety departments that choose to be notified when the program is on, we ask that you make sure that all staff and or volunteers who may be in contact with individuals seeking shelter, that your staff is able to adequately deal with these with these individuals and families who are in crisis. If you are not comfortable in that position, you can also refer these individuals to one of the agencies that's an approved agency. Okay, again, looking at the slide, again, it's designed only to provide temporary emergency assistance as a result of severe life-threatening weather occurrence or temperatures. Please be sure that all your applicable staff understand it's not a public program and eligibility is not based on federal or state criteria. We ask that anyone communicating with the clients about this program not refer to the program as a voucher program. Doing such gives the inference that this is a government or otherwise program, and it is not. And we ask that you explain that to your clients. Notices that are sent out to the agencies regarding the fund being in effect or on are never to be posted or shared with the public, meaning that if you have someone who comes through your doors, please do not make 20 copies so that every person who comes through the door, you hand them that information. This is information for providers and key people in the community who may be faced with people seeking that. This is not something to be sent to the public, and it is to be considered confidential. Clients should never be referred to the United Way. This is extremely important when we have clients who are upset because on any particular day the fund isn't in effect, or that they've been deemed ineligible based on either not meeting the established criteria or have been banned from the program by a provider. This applies to both referring agencies and authorized providers. Looking again, this is not intended to address issues of poverty, but to serve as a last resort safety net program to prevent loss of life in severe weather. These are the points that outline the policies for the use of the fund by the authorized providers, but also contains key information that agencies with adequate staffing can do prior to referring a client to an authorized agency. In other words, if you're not an authorized agency, but you are a social service provider, and you look at these, this criteria within this list, you can see, if you see that a client is automatically not qualified, you would want to make sure that at that point you terminate that referral. Otherwise, you can refer them to an authorized agency who are able to handle that. And if you have any questions on how to obtain the information about available shelter beds, warming centers, or any other means that we ask that you exhaust before using the Emergency Shelter Fund, please also contact our office. In addition to that, we can discuss anything with questions about what the Shelter Fund covers. But plain and simple, it is simply that shelter overnight for the qualified individuals. Currently, Our Father's House is the only agency that has the capacity to take calls on the weekends and overnight. If your agency has that capability, and you would be willing to do so, we would welcome your assistance in this. It's important to remember that our Father's house, we can't control what the situation is going to be on any given night, how many phone calls that they will get, and what their ability to respond will be. But please remember that this is an offer they have made, and there is not a contract that compels that they're part of this program. The availability of 24-hour contact information is something that we've discussed, and Corey, at one of our most recent provider meetings, addressed as something we want to look at and see if we can indeed create a kind of a system of agencies who are able to give those kind of services. If you are not on this list to be an authorized provider and you believe that you have the capacity to do that, please contact me and we can discuss the qualifications that are needed to do that. And then if you qualify from those criteria, we'll submit your request to join this list to both our community impact leadership, our president, and ultimately our board. And as this information is changed or updated, you will receive the new information with the next notice that you get about the fund being in effect. Okay. I'm going to read each and every one of these points, and no, I'm not. This busy slide is a snapshot of the document or a similar document that you'll be sent when the fund is in effect or on. The content of this guideline document will depend on whether you're an authorized provider or not. Authorized providers will receive a different document that talks about what they are required to do as an authorized provider. Whenever possible, the decision to continue the fund being in effect will be announced before checkout time at the area motels to limit the need for the agencies to re-rent clients that are already registered. In addition to that, when we have the information available from the committee that there is going to be a stretch of whether that meets the criteria, we will put the fund in effect for several evenings, but we ask that you pay careful attention to when that ends. That date is usually the date that the client would need to check out of the hotel, not the last day that they can stay over that night. So you want to pay special attention to that, otherwise we cannot reimburse you for the night that wasn't covered.
And so that's it for today. We look forward to our continued work together. I want to thank Unitil. I want to thank my team. And again, I want to thank all of you. Looking forward to working with you, again, to create a user-friendly system for those who are most in need. So thank you very much, and stay warm.